All right, so we'll be looking at some of the trends that have shaped voting in Edo State. Now, as voting kicks off in Edo State today for the election of a new governor, the question is, who will succeed the incumbent governor, Godwin Obaseki? Now, with 2 million registered voters spread across 4,519 polling units from 18 local government areas, what should we expect? We'll need to take a trip down memory lane to previous elections in the state. For the 2020 election, it was significant, and understanding its trends and factors can help us grasp what might influence this election. Now, one of the first things I'll say is Edo South's power of numbers. Now, going by the last 3 governorship elections cast in Edo State, it shows that Edo South holds 48.56% of the votes on the average. Now, let's take a look at the gubernatorial election in 2016. If we can have the gubernatorial election in 2016, that's the slide that talks about what happened in 2016. There we are going to see the numbers and see the region that took the highest number. And of course, Edo South happens to be that region. Let's have that slide on gubernatorial election 2016. So for 2016 gubernatorial election, we're seeing Edo North right here. For Edo North, it gave us 32.23% of the votes. And then for Edo Central, it gave us 19.4% of the votes. And Edo South gave us 48.37% of the votes. That gives you a picture of the number that usually comes from this particular place. And then another thing, when you also take a look at it, you're going to see that Edo North gave its vote to APC, and Edo Central gave its vote to PDP, while this particular one, that's Edo South, gave its own vote. Edo South gave its own vote to this particular party, of course, which is APC also. Here you have the total. Now, let's move on. Apart from this particular one, there is another thing we're also going to be looking at right now, and that is the power of incumbency. But before we come to the power of incumbency, let's take a look at the next one, which is the 2020 gubernatorial election. For the 2020 gubernatorial election, we're seeing 35.5% coming from Edo North, 18% coming from Edo Central, and 46.5% coming from Edo South. Again, we're seeing Edo South deciding who becomes the governor of the state. Now, let's take a look at the 2023 presidential election. For 2023 presidential election, we're seeing the same thing, Edo North, Edo Central, and Edo South. Again, we're seeing Edo South giving us that number, giving us that winner with 50.26%. To the 2023 senatorial election again. For the senatorial election, we're seeing the same trend. Edo South, again, doing what it has been doing since 2016, giving us that deciding factor, giving us that number with 50.83%. We have Edo Central, 17.56%, and we have Edo North, 31.6%. That tells you that to a very large extent, Edo South has that power of number. Edo Central has the least number, and Edo North is the second. Now, away from the, let's look at something. That is Edo South being the swing vote hub. Now, while Edo North and Edo Central are traditionally known for voting certain candidates, when you talk about Edo North would always want to vote for APC. Edo Central would always want to vote for PDP. But when you come to Edo South, there is that divergence. There is that, sophistication that comes with Edo South. Let's go back to the 2016 gubernatorial election, please. We're using the same slides for the two, this 2016 gubernatorial election. Now for the 2016, I'm going to take that again. Remember Edo North. I told you Edo North would always go for APC. So let's keep counting. APC for Edo North. Edo Central gave its votes to PDP in 2016 gubernatorial election. But for Edo South gave its own vote to APC. Now let's take a look at 2020 gubernatorial election. For the 2020, Edo North again gave its vote to APC. This is the second one, and we still have Edo North giving its vote to APC. And for Edo Central, this time around, it gave its vote to PDP. The same PDP, the second time, it's giving it to PDP. But here for Edo South, this time around, it's giving it to another party, and that party is the PDP. That's in the 2020 gubernatorial election. That's some sophistication you're beginning to see also from Edo South. Now, let's take a look at the presidential election that took place last year, 2023. For 2023, Edo North continues to vote for APC. 2023 presidential election, we're beginning to see some level of sophistication right here, and that's because we're having a new entrant, and that new entrant is the Labour Party. Labour Party made inroads into Edo State and some of the South and Southeast states during the 2023 presidential election, and we are seeing that's beginning to probably shape what we would see today in Edo State election. So, for 2023, we saw Edo Central, going for Labour Party. Some sophistication, moving away from always voting for PDP at this time. Then for Edo South gave its vote to Labour Party, this time around, Labour Party, of course, made inroads into Edo South. Now, bear in mind that Edo South, the incumbent governor is from Edo South. So Edo South could have decided to vote because of its own. That's the incumbent governor. But instead, it decided to vote for Labour Party at the presidential election. That's sophistication right there. Now, let's take another look at the other one, which is the senatorial election in 2023. For the senatorial election, Edo North, again, APC. Recall that since 2016, Edo North has been voting one party, APC. And now for Edo Central at this point in time voted for APC again. Of course, that's telling you that Edo Central is becoming very, very dynamic. It's becoming very, very sophisticated. It's no longer playing, religious, not necessarily religious. It's no longer doing, voting based on ethnicity or language or tribe or what have you. There is some level of sophistication. And then for Edo South, this particular one, and for this particular one, that is Edo South. For Edo South, we're seeing Edo South, of course, voting for Labour Party again. Now, this tells you something. We're seeing that to a very large extent, we're seeing a lot of sophistication right here for Edo South and, of course, for Edo Central. So the question you're going to say is that beyond these two, what other factors are prevalent today? And if you ask me, I'll say that to a very large extent, Edo South actually probably holds the key. But let's take a look at this here. For Edo South, we have a situation where Edo South has been in governance for 8 years. Edo North has been in government for 16 years, but Edo Central has not. Now, capitalizing on this, we're seeing that the two big political parties decided to take their own candidates from Edo North. From Edo Central, beg your pardon, from Edo Central. Now, what did Labour Party do? Labour Party decided to go with Edo South. Remember that Edo South is sophisticated. Edo South would rather go for a candidate based on its pedigree rather than voting for someone who is from their own clan. So the question now is, what is going to happen now? Who is going to win? It's really, really sophisticated, and I must say that so many factors will come to play in deciding, who is going to win, because there are so many factors to be looked at. Whether it is the fact that, the other two candidates decided to go to Edo Central, playing to, that particular marginalization conversation around the fact that Edo Central hasn't had it in the Fourth Republic. So let's take these two people. But then Edo Central is sophisticated. So when there are two people coming from the same place, you're asking yourself, who then are they going to vote for? And you also have Edo South with the number equally sophisticated. I think I would really like to engage our guest here, George, because, you've been saying a whole lot about this. Let me get your thoughts on this particular one.
Well, senatorial election results, as I shared, presidential election results, buttress what I said earlier, that we're no longer running a two-party race in Edo State. And the presence of a third behemoth, big party, has changed the fortunes of the elections of the state. It's brought more people out. Apathy that will have been part of the reason why the voter turnout was less 4 years ago is going to be a little bit different now because of the entrance of Labour Party. However, that doesn't mean one is projecting. So nobody should come and say George Ashuru from Lagos began to make predictions. But what it tells us is that every time a transformational party comes up or a candidate comes up, there are a group of people who don't vote, who will decide to vote. So that's good for our democracy, that the more parties we have, the chances are there that one party is speaking a language of people who usually sit at home. So the trajectory is fantastic. And I like the fact that the senatorial districts are also telling us a very important history. And that is this, the so-called sophisticated senatorial district, it may have people of a certain economic class, which need to investigate that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and that's actually the reality. So Edo South, is where has Oredo and the likes. That's where the universities, the University of Benin is, and a couple of other higher institutions are. So that's the region. Edo North, mostly because between 2008 and 2016, Adams Oshiomhole became governor. He's from Edo North, and that's why you see that the APC, of course, he became governor, with the APC. And so because of that, Edo North has seemingly now become an APC-favored region. But Edo South, has held on to the PDP, likeness, for the longest time. Since 1999, Edo South, first of all, it has the highest voting bloc. followed by Edo North and then Edo Central. And that's why it's always been a struggle for Edo Central to produce a governor. Edo South, has seemingly been a pro-PDP region. And that's why when Adams Oshiomhole eventually came in, you still see that Edo South doesn't vote APC. They continue to vote the PDP regardless. The Labour Party was the only change. And that is because the people in Edo South are seemingly more, I don't want to call them more enlightened, but because
they're more urban, if you ask me.
It's the urban areas.
It's the urban area. Yeah,
exactly.
Edo North is more of the rural. There are more rural areas in Edo North. So the people in Edo South, are more likely to change if they find a better option because they seem to be more independent voters. Depend on which the options are available.
I want to ask you, aren't you seeing the same thing, happening in Edo Central, saying that, they bucked the trend in 2023. They weren't just, for senatorial, they voted a particular party, and then for presidential, they voted another party in 2023.
Very true, but because they don't have the numbers, it's difficult for them to become, or their votes to become like the key deciding factor all the time. It's mostly Edo South and, Edo North. Edo Central will, of course, give whatever additions it can. But the point that I'm stressing here is why you are seeing the relevance of the APC or the emergence of the APC in Edo North because of Adams Oshiomhole. Prior to 2008, if you go back to the statistics, I'm sure that you will find that Edo North was not, in fact, APC came in 2008. So, you would not see that same voting, culture. But immediately he came in and left in 2016, Edo North then became the pro-APC region. And that's how it has been since then. It is his stronghold. It is where he is known, the most. It's where he has the most political influence. It is where he has the most political, friends. And so whichever party that he wants them to vote mostly is what, they will vote.
So
but Edo South is very different.
to repeat itself?
It's, very possible that it would repeat itself. In the presidential election, the only reason that Edo North, had whatever numbers they had is because of Adams Oshiomhole voting the APC. Because, at that point, Edo State simply was fully Labour Party inclined. But of course, the APC's emergence from Adams Oshiomhole is what gave it those numbers in 2023, I beg your pardon.
I think one thing we should be also aware of is that the senatorial elections, the results can mirror what you would be more likely what the governorship election would look like. The presidential elections tend to be a little bit hazy.
Yeah.
Because you have people who are not necessarily voters in that region, who are resident there, who want to vote for a candidate that is not from that state. So their votes could go anywhere.
Yeah.
So you can't really, just like what happened in Lagos, the fact that Lagos voted somebody else for presidency is not an indication that they would vote the same party for governor. Yeah. So this makes the analysis even more interesting to see whether or not it's going to be a repetition of the senatorial results or of the presidential results.
All right. Perpetual Fasome Peters, thank you very much, our data analyst, for stopping by and sharing with us. These are very important statistics that you showed, and of course the voting trend since 2016. Very, very important in the conversation. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again.
Thank you, Chad. Of course, don't forget incumbency. That's another thing you probably want to consider. Bye for now.
Absolutely.